It was an extraordinary opportunity, and it had an enormous impact on me and on my life and on my subsequent years. That trip was a result of an invitation that was given to a conference, a World Youth and Student Conference that was held in Prague in 1950. At the end of that conference, the Chinese delegation invited individuals from from some of the delegations who were at that conference. And I was one of the two persons invited from the American delegation. It was made up of youth leaders from all over the world, actually, of key youth leaders and student leaders from all over the world, the delegation that was invited to China. And we spent 3 months. Now, mind you, this is 1950, 1 year after the declaration of the People's Republic of China. We traveled by train through Siberia and entered in the north of China, and was given a special. We were put onto a special train, and that train carried us for those 3 months all over China, except to the western parts, which were still being fought over, in fact. And on the invitation of the Chinese youth and student organizations. And we visited every conceivable institution. We went, as I say, the train that we occupied when we entered China was our living quarters for most of the 2.5 months, actually, of the trip. And we would travel from town to town, from city to city. We were received by youth organizations in these towns and cities, and somebody from one or two people from our group would speak to these young or to these organizations and to their members. And this was a practice that was followed. We would go to the big cities. Big cities, we had great rallies. We would spend 2 or 3 days in the cities, and then while we're in the cities at that time, where we spent time, we would visit the factories, we would visit the schools, we would visit institutions of a great variety. This went on for 2.5 months, from north to south China.
Were you impressed with the whole environment in China?
Well, the important thing for me in this was the relationships that I established with the members of the delegation. These are all young people who...
Racially diverse?
Of course, I mean, yes. From all over the world.
Yes.
These were young people from all over the world, from Europe and from South America and from Asia and and two from Africa, in fact. My interaction with them, I learned so much about organizing young people. I learned these were people who had been engaged and my own age and doing similar things. And I learned. We spent hours each. I spent hours talking to these people about what they were doing and about how they were doing it and about the problems that they had and so forth. That was important. That was one important part for me. That was the most important part. The other part was to see the enthusiasm and the absolute, very highly demonstrated delight of particularly young people at the emergence of the People's Republic of China. There was, you could never question the fact that this was a major change in the life of these young people and a major change in the life of China, and it was clearly demonstrated by the enormity of the reaction on the part of everywhere we went, and of course, in addition to that, of course, we visited collective farms, we visited, as I say, institutions. everywhere we went, we were overwhelmed with the new China. The new China.
You never felt any racial prejudice?
Oh, no.
Towards you or any of the other black students?
No. One incident, which was most interesting. At one town we were in, I don't now remember which one it was, we were being taken through the town, packed with people, right up to the edge. And we were in open jeeps at this time. The delegation members were in open jeeps. And as we traveled through this very tight crowd of people, barely moving actually because there were so many, some young girl looked at me and went like this. And whoever was her superior, another young person, slapped her.
Oh, so it wasn't condoned.
It wasn't condoned. It wasn't that kind of reaction. What do you mean? And slapped her right there in front of me. And they said something to her in Chinese. I don't know what it was. But the child, I mean, I felt sorry for the child because apparently she'd never seen anything that looked like me before in her life. And that was her reaction. Oh, it just...
I see.
And the person in charge slapped her on the face. And I don't know, they had a great conversation as we went on.
Yes.
Now, during all that time, and during that whole, I never experienced any kind of anything having to do with any kind of, racism, yes. Any kind of overt kind of. However, when 10 years later, when I went back to China as a student and spent a year at the University of Peking, I was aware.
You were aware then.
Of some things that were happening between Chinese students and Chinese youth and some of the African students who were in Peking at that time. But this was 1 year after the creation of the People's Republic of China.
Yes.